You went through something very intense that I didn't know about, which is you were on your bike and you were seriously injured.
Yep, kablamo-d.
What happened? Kablamo-d is the medical term.
Yes,
you could just dumb it down for the rest of us.
I was kablamo-d.
We got a kablamo here. I saw that there's an episode of The Pit where they go, we got a kablamo.
We got one kablamo coming in. He's fully kablammed.
We need 3 cc's of Feel Better Quick. So what happened? Because it's pretty heavy.
I was hit by a cement truck as a little boy.
You were on your bike?
I was on my bike. Are you guys squeamish?
Nope.
Squeamish? So.
Holy shit.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it looks like uncooked chicken, but it is my leg. And
is that with skin grafts then over it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's skin graft. So the skin was ripped off, and the other leg's a little better, but it was half the leg. And I broke everything from the knees down that I had to reconstruct my legs, and then my left femur, and then some ribs, and I punctured a lung and was bleeding out of my ears. But then they're like, no brain damage. I think.
I beg to differ.
Yeah.
Just based on your work.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
The doctors are looking at Workaholics.
We might have gotten it wrong 25 years ago.
We've Pitch Perfect, Workaholics. Wait, are you looking at CAT scans? No, just the work.
No, his filmography.
So, I mean, we're laughing a lot, but horrifying. And were you unconscious for a long time?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks. It was a medical induced coma, and then so I essentially 3 cement trucks. I lived in the suburbs, and 3 cement trucks were going up the hill as 2 were coming down, or some version of that, because new houses were being built everywhere. And my friend was across the street, and he yells, "Come on," as in "Let's go." And I took that as coast is clear. And he goes, "Come on." And I'm like, okay. And I walk out after the 3rd cement truck passed. And so I couldn't see the other side of the street and was hit. And I flung, I said 500 feet because that's what my mom told me. And that's what's in my Wikipedia page. But then I did another podcast. And I think Theo Von was like, 500 feet? That's so far. And I'm like...
It's really far.
Yeah, I guess it is. He goes, how far is the longest field goal ever kicked? And it was like 162 feet. And I'm like, I wasn't kicked. My mom's a liar.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was even hit
It's me saying I'm a speed reader.
Yeah.
I went 100 miles.
Yeah, it was my mom like trying to zhuzh up the numbers of me getting hit by a cement truck. She's like, it was 500 feet too. It wasn't even a small distance. It was 500 feet.
Oh, Penny.
And it wasn't 30 tons. It was 80 tons. It was an 80-ton cement truck. So one of the heaviest in the world.
When you're hit by a cement truck as a kid and you get that kind of damage, you don't need to zhuzh it up.
Yeah, I know.
It was also carrying dynamite.
Yeah.
And it blew up.
Yeah, and then he had a gun on him, and she shot him. He shot him in the leg, so you couldn't tell. It was in the leg, so you couldn't tell. And then funny, but I was hit in one county and landed in another because the road was the dividing line between the counties.
Yeah.
So that was a fun thing that we got to talk about.
So
the recovery process, because you're in a wheelchair for a chunk of time.
Yeah, for about 2 years.
Oh my God.
Middle school was really cool for me, and it was kind of a cool experience to be the crippled kid. So I was in a wheelchair, and I would get on crutches and then have another surgery. I had something like 26 or 28 surgeries during that time, and and then my 8th grade year. So that was the summer going into 6th grade, and by 8th grade, I played football.
Wow.
And by the way, the worst guy on the team, it was the coaches being like, he can play. And then they're like, you're a defensive lineman. Yeah. So it's just me just like going, and falling over. And then our quarterback getting sacked.
Your entire body is made of recently healed bones.
Yes.
Doesn't sound like a good idea. No. Who would let you play? Penny, who would let you play football?
My doctor, actually, my mom was like, if the doctor says you could play, you could play. And the doctor was like, I don't see what's wrong with it if he wants to play. And my mom's like, you son of a bitch. How dare you?
Kill him.
And then I played, but I was really, really bad. And then so I thought I was going to be like this athlete as a kid. I was like, that was my whole, I'm like, I'm going to be a professional baseball player. No one in my family is athletic, so this was a pipe dream. But that was my goal. And then after I was hit, I have a very, very funny family, and I always liked making people laugh. And then I started to call into radio stations, and I would call into the radio station in Omaha, 106.7 The Edge or 101.9 The Edge, and I would do different voices and different characters. And then that became like a little thing on the radio.
Because you're confined. You're like, this is you at home, wheelchair, maybe not going to school. You can't be having fun. So this is what you do.
Exactly. And this was 6th and 7th grade. And then they were like, come on down. We want you to be part of the drive time hour. And so my mom loads me into the minivan, takes me down there. My legs can't bend, so they're fully just extended in front of me. She picks me up, she puts me in the wheelchair, wheels me into the radio station, and they're like, oh, we didn't realize you were a crippled child. We thought you were an adult man.
Oh, no.
By the way, a sad, weird adult man who only talks to us in character voices. But we didn't know you were, so we can't pay you and have you be part, we can't have you on staff, but we can pay you in like cranberry CDs. I have all the
Which
cranberry.
is an accepted currency and still in parts
cranberry, wallflowers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, all the hits. And then like free concert tickets. And so then that was sort of my segue into comedy, where I was like, oh, being funny, you can do cool things and get cool things.
That is the crucial moment, I think, for a lot of people in our industry, is the moment and some people realize it or know it really early, but the moment when you realize, wait a minute, there's a use for this thing I do.
Yeah.
I just thought I was, entertaining / annoying my brothers and friends to no end all the time. And then someone links it to, that's great. Here's a cookie. Here's a free t-shirt. Wait a minute. Here's a job here. Here's a job there. And you can't believe it. You can't believe it.
I could not believe. I was so excited. And the fact that my mom was getting her hair done. She has this beautiful poof, Penny. And so she was poofing this thing up at the salon, and I came on the radio. And someone in the salon said, oh my God, I love this guy. He calls in all the time. And my mom was like, oh. and I remember once that happened, I was like, oh, my mom, like, I'll put some shine on the family by doing this thing, because I'm not going to be the professional athlete that we all thought I was going to be.
There's still time.
Yeah.
There's still time. You're a young man.
Yeah, cornhole is getting...
That's in the Olympics. Do you have any residual pain from what you went through in your life, or is that all behind you, physically?
No, up until maybe 3 years ago, I would say, yeah, it's basically behind me. Like I have a creak in the knee or whatever, but in the last 3 years... it was crazy. I suddenly start to have spasms, and my muscles will get super tight, and the doctors couldn't explain it. And they told me at one point that I have this autoimmune disease called stiff person syndrome, which is essentially like a death sentence for the most part. And people die within like 6 years, usually. And so they told me that I had it. And they told me I had it a month before Bo was born, my son. And I'm like, this isn't a cool thing to say to me. So I'm on the toilet at 4 a.m. looking at videos of people with stiff person syndrome. I'm like, I don't want this to be my life. And then 6 months goes by, or then they tell me, well, maybe you don't have it, because I had one of the markers, but not the other marker in my blood. And they're like, maybe you don't have it. And then 6 months goes by, and I'm shooting gemstones, and they're like, we do think you have it. So I went to Philadelphia, and I met with the oldest man alive who coined the phrase stiff person syndrome. He's like the guy. And he told me I absolutely don't have it, and it's all residual from my accident.
My God.
But it is a weird thing where
That's harrowing.
Yeah.
that I can't, I mean, it's a weird thing because I still want to act and want to do all this stuff, but I have a hard time standing for more than like 15 or 20 minutes at a time. And I can't run and move in the same ways that I could just a couple years ago. So I'm doing a wild amount of physical therapy and that kind of stuff. like now that I'm in between, jobs, I'm still writing and doing all kinds of other stuff. But as far as being on set goes, I'm just like physical therapy, body work, acupuncture, chirotherapy, like everything. So I'm in the midst of it now.
It's, I mean, clearly you went through this massive injury, but it is just true. The best analogy I've ever heard is that when you're born, you're dropped into a current that's taking you in the right direction and very powerfully, and you just get bigger and stronger doing absolutely nothing, you know? And then as you get older, the current starts to slow, and then it comes to a standstill, and then it starts to go the other way. And so you actively have to work at staying just where you are.
Yeah.
And I thought, I think that's the best description
that is
of the aging process, which is I do a lot just to stay where I am. It's not.
I used to work out a lot to like look strong and get muscles. And now I'm like, it's just like holding weights, like just isometric holds and just all this stuff that I was like, I'm never going to do this. Now I work out like I'm an 88-year-old grandmother, like who's just like doesn't want both of her hips to snap if she misses a stair.
You have pool noodles.
Totally.
With a bunch of other old ladies.
Absolutely.
Totally
I just have my hair in a hairnet. Like, I don't know, it has nothing to do with it.
Enid's yelling at you. Your noodle's hitting her noodle.